Oh god, it didn't work the first time. Anyway. Alright. I'm reading Death by Smash Daddy. So, just in case you want to know, for the stats, he is basically a very floaty heavyweight. So yeah, that's just what he is. I mean, shouldn't be surprising. He's Death. He's about the size of Ganondorf. He's heavy. You know, what do you really expect? So, let's just start off with the moveset with the jab. Death slashes with his scythe into the background, then into the foreground if the input is pressed again immediately afterwards, dealing 8% to the opponent if it hits and dragging them into the main plane of the battlefield, with some stun if they're caught during a dodge. This is a fairly generic move, but serves the simple purpose of catching opponents off guard who are trying to dodge your various projectiles. So, yeah, I mentioned in the previous comment that it's just generic move, hits in the background, it's alright, does what it probably is supposed to. Dash attack. With gusto, Death dashes forward and drags his scythe along the ground. If he comes into contact with the opponent or the input is released, he slashes upward in a large uppercut with his scythe, dealing 7%. The knockback is either mild or backward, but if the opponent is caught in the apex of the scythe's lunge, Death pierces the foe and tugs them back toward him at the end of the move. This will leave the opponent prone on the floor next to Death. So yeah, as I've learned from reading later into the set, Death is a prone abuser. So yeah. So his dash attack he ideally wants to end up with the foe and prone in front of him, which is probably what Death always wants. Death holds his scythe above him before dropping it down in front of him like an executioner's axe. This is down tilt, by the way. And this has heavy start lag. This deals 8% in low knockback if the opponent is hit by the furthest part of the blade, but if they're within a Bowser, they are impaled and slammed down to the move as the move transitions to the next part. He then drags the scythe back to him on the floor, raking in any opponents who are in prone, forcing them to react or be pulled in as well. Now, this might seem a bit weird right now, but I've realized from reading further along in the set, this has a rather interesting interaction with I think it's the side special. But yeah, anyway. Up tilt. Scythe overhead. Death leans his weapon backward in midair before swiping it forward, dealing 5% to anyone it hits. This attacks from foreground to background, by the way. The move is very fast, but has small range. If caught, the opponent also is tugged down by Death as he recollects his scythe, pulled into midair above Death, or suffering end lag if they hit any solid ground on the way down. What makes this move useful is that the first phase of animation will avoid any walls or solid platforms that would have otherwise stopped Death from getting through, letting him attack opponents camping from above. Forward tilt. Death holds his scythe two-handed and more subtly prods it down in front of him, using the end of it to prick any foes standing in range. This causes 7% and 1/2 second of flinching, but the move's real playstyle uses against shields. It won't one-hit kill them, but it will do a sizable amount of damage to them and cause set knockback to the foe, pushing them back a platform before they can stop shielding. So yeah, that could infinite the foe if it doesn't knock them out of the flinching when it hits them while they're already flinching from it. I don't know, half a second of flinching seems like a lot to me, but whatever, it's not a big deal. Death hangs ominously in place with both arms extended outwards in a menacing pose, causing sickles half the size of Kirby to spawn on screen around him. These sickles do not have any set pattern, one appearing every 0.2 seconds while the move is in use, and gradually filling up an area the size of a fully exploded smart bomb if the move is used continuously. Going in and out of this move has little lag on either end, but leaves Death vulnerable to attack. I don't know how it leaves him vulnerable to attack if it has little lag, but okay. The scythes fall down and home in on Death as they do, dealing 5% in low knockback if they hit an opponent. After falling to the ground, they will naturally rise back up and follow a similar, but reverse pattern as they ascend, before falling as they reach a similar height above where Death originally summoned them. Like uppity spirits, that's very interesting phrasing, they ignore everything but the stage, traveling through any other solid object that isn't an enemy's attack. The sickles are not destroyed naturally. They are destroyed if they hit an enemy, but also enemy attacks. However, they they naturally cause a clash if hit by an opposing attack, leaving opponents momentarily defenseless to Death's machinations. So it's a projectile that clashes with everything the opponent does, and I think he summons them, and then they home in on him. I don't really know. The move is worded very confusingly, I'll be honest. I'd go back and edit that if I were you, Smash Daddy. Death points down, creating a horizontal purple-hued portal the size of Mario below him. This has only moderate start lag. Death can have up to 4 portals on screen at a time, causing the first one to dissipate if he creates a 5th. The portals operate by transferring Death's attack hitboxes to the next portal in line. If you attack the first portal, it will come out through the second, and so on, with an attack of the fourth portal connecting to the first portal. The portals will transfer attacks on both different sides of the portal, top and bottom, separately, meaning that if you attack the bottom side of the first portal, it will come out of the top side of the second. Also note that if portals do not transport anything through with their thinner side, it will allow only parts of the attack that are actually small enough to go through the portal at its current size, making the scythe rather handy shaped to pierce through portals. Okay, so this effectively allows him to camp with melee moves, which is kind of cool. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, he creates portals. Seem to do their job pretty well. Death and opponents alike can travel through portals in a similar fashion to Death's attacks, but with one slight difference. The relevant portals will increase in size to fit the person traveling through them, if they have to. This stretches the boundaries of the portals and allows for more of Death's attacks to fit through them, as if nothing else, with the portals staying at an extended size until they are destroyed by Death, probably by another use of the down special, or Death is KO'd. Death can travel through portals directly below him on the stage by using the down special on top of them. Keep in mind, tops and bottoms are still in play, and Death will suffer end lag if he enters a portal with not enough space on the other end, such as the bottom end of a portal on stage. This is worse for opponents, though. They are forced into prone if they go through a portal, which is placed right on top of the ground. Prone abuse ahoy. So, yeah, as I expected, he's a prone abuser. Which is fine. Edgar certainly didn't use that genre up already, and neither did Komodo, Mo, and Joe, and I guess QB did something with it, but, you know, prone abuse still has potential. If the input is held as opposed to press, Death will instead take up a pose similar to in appearance to his neutral special. After medium start lag, Death summons 4 portals spaced evenly around him, 1 platform apart from each other. These face towards Death and allow him to create somewhat of a barricade later on in this moveset, and has simpler uses, as it destroys any portals previously out on the stage. The numbering of these portals is fixed as having the bottom left one as the first, and going counterclockwise from there for the rest. But the first in order of chains can be selected by pressing a direction during the starting lag of the move. So yeah, basically he creates a little fortress of portals around him, which is awesome. I'm not gonna lie, I mean, it allows him to, it basically makes him into like a little, it's just a cool little fortress move. I like it. It's clever. Though I imagine that placing your portals manually could ultimately lead to something that's far better. Alright. Checking my time again, because last time it stopped working because I'm out. But whatever. Death spins his iconic scythe in front of him. Oh wait, no, we're supposed to do the up special first. This move functions as a way to create portals directly above yourself until you have at least one. Death summons a hand out of the top side of the nearest portal, the hand connected by a chain that seems to be coming out of hell itself, causing the portal to turn scarlet red. So, if you're curious, the up special will create a portal if you don't already have one out. But, he didn't directly say that, but as it turns out later in the moveset, that's pretty much true, and it was implied here. The hand automatically homes in on Death at Captain Falcon's dash speed, but can only reach up to 3 platforms in distance before it has to stop. If it grabs Death, it will then reel him back in, pulling him up to the portal as a very powerful recovery. If it failed to grab him, the hand stays extended out, but the chain becomes a wall, allowing some effective gimping off stage. All chains, however, can be broken by attacks from the opponent, taking 20% before breaking apart. At any point, Death can simply summon more portals, destroying any chains out on stage. With more than one portal, multiple hands instead reach for the next portal in line. Starting at the first, a hand will grab into the second, and then another appears out of the second and grabs onto the third, and the hands will actually go through solid ground, too. Every chain has its own stamina of 20%. The hands now form a bit of a wall, its size and shape depending on the position of your portals. Opponents can be guided into a brawl with Death himself, or simply kept out of the way so that you can summon some more sickles. If a hand is currently sticking out of a portal, the portal cannot produce another one, and opponents cannot use the portal as long as a hand is inside it, or teleport to a portal where a hand would be blocking their path. Death's attacks can still go through portals, but can no longer force opponents into them. So he can't force opponents into portals anymore, but he can actually attack them from inside the cage. And yeah, he can basically create something that's kind of similar to Dark Bowser's cage. It's pretty cool. I don't really know what I think of it, but I like it. Oh, I just realized one of the things this can do with the side special. Ah, that's really cool. I'll get to that when I get there. Death spins his iconic scythe in front of him for 0.4 to 0.2 seconds, releasing it in the chosen direction after charging. The scythe does not home in on the opponent, but it is totally invulnerable, dealing 10% to 20% damage and knockback that can KO at 100% as its maximum charge. It travels at a slow pace of DDD's dash speed. The scythe will ricochet off the sides of your chains at an angle, potentially creating a death trap for the opponent. But if they're already boxed in, you will need to be crafty to actually KO them, as you'll need to get rid of the chains as well. If Death comes into contact with it, he'll pick it right back up with no end lag. The scythe is loose when the scythe is loose like this, Death's tilts, which usually involve the scythe, are replaced by the applicable aerials, so his up tilt becomes his up aerial, and so on. If the scythe travels past the blast zone, it's gone for the stock, meaning you'll have to retrieve it if you want access back to your tilts. So basically, Death can throw it into the portal and then have it ricochet off the sides, then he can enter 2 and then start fighting the opponent with his magic and such. Well, he's got this scythe bouncing around the inside of the cage. So that actually makes it effective regardless of it not being very durable. Okay, cool. I'm gonna end the video here.